Hi, welcome. This is part 19, the Womb Healing Decree, and it will be published on the 11th of July, 2026. So, welcome. This is chapter 1, the welcome to part 19, the Womb Healing Decree. So, I start my day with intention. And so, everything that I say, I do because I've had the consequences of not doing it. So this is all the things that I have found kind of like after that would have helped kind of prior, kind of is what comes through. So I start my day with intention, connecting to my higher self through my heart, and then only source aligned, and then only guides source aligned, and only my higher self, only source aligned. So that's really important. So 3D Earth is convoluted, so we have to state our intentions really clearly, and we have to really be firm in 3D. Okay, we're going through the heart to source consciousness and to our higher selves. And then in 3D, we also must reject and insist and reject what we don't want. So intention is everything. Okay, so a practical step is to spray the four corners of our room. So I have a little bit of water in here and I just put, whoops, a few drops of, this is essential oils, like peppermint I'm using a lot right now. So, and then you just, spritz in the corner. I claim this corner in source's name and the four corners of your room. And it smells really good. It smells really, really fresh. And so that's like the and then solve the corners of your room. You can do it every 2 weeks or once a month, but just kind of see how the space is feeling and energetically how it's feeling. So 3D is all interference. So we're wanting to kind of secure our space as much as we can so that we can actually relax, our nervous system can relax when we are actually in our space instead of constantly being agitated through the night. Okay, so that's decree part 3, which is preparing your space with using the essential oils and spritzing. And then I claim this home in source's name. I claim this workspace in source's name. And that's decree part 2, naming your space. I do that every day when I wake up, and I do the technology decree as soon as I wake up, as soon as I touch my phone, I'm doing the technology decree. 4D interference is what is controlling 3D. So it's coming from 4D, and that's why it seems so advanced because it's coming from another dimension. So once I pick up my phone or my Apple computer, this is an iPhone, I have an Apple computer. Once I pick them up, I claim the technology in source's name. I claim the Wi-Fi in source's name. I claim this is getting recorded on Zoom. I claim this recording on Zoom in source's name. So 3D interference is real. We are constantly being pulled into fear. That's the main one, into guilt, shame, anger, hopelessness, and repetition. That is 3D, the material plane. Okay, so it's shifting. 3D is shifting. 3D Earth is shifting to 5D, which is New Earth. I've also heard that it's called the Sacred Garden. So 3D interference is real. We're constantly being pulled. So we also need to do things that hold our frequency in 3D, like having plants, like there's rue, there's hyssop. It's kind of like ancient that they use that for holding frequency in spaces, cedar, sage, mint. But make sure, it's not toxic to your plants. And thank you, Helen. She was the one that mentioned it with the decree for plants, which was, let me just check, decree part 4. So securing it's like really your plants are holding like a frequency, and the archons that are like the reptilians that are they're low frequency. If there is like that scent of essential oils or of any of that rue mint, they don't like that scent. And I believe, I don't know if this is true, but a lot of flowers don't have their scent anymore. And I feel like that has been removed in the last 50 years, where flowers used to smell and then they don't have a scent. I think the only flower that I buy is a lily, and the lilies still have a scent to them. Okay, so that's 3D. So in this work, we're essentially saying, I am sovereign, I release what is not mine, and I reclaim what is mine in Source's name. Okay, and it is done. It's simple. The body is the golden key. The body will let us know what is interfering and where is the interference, and the body will give us the clue about what's happening. Okay. In the decree, we're naming it and we're releasing it to source. We're not fixing, we're not judging, we're just naming and we're releasing. And we're doing it to the root cause, and we're doing it in the records of only source aligned. So in this work, we can just affirm, I'm sovereign. I sever this interference and it is done. Our hearts are the sacred gateway for divine love, healing, and wisdom. Good. Okay, welcome. This is chapter 2. How does doing the decree help? Okay, so the decree helps by stabilizing your frequency and your energy, because our energy is constantly yanked around, and especially dropping into fear, which is very low 3D, and it can be terror, not just fear, but terror. And then guilt, shame, and all the rest, right? So, but a low frequency, fear being the primary expression that 3D wants you to emit like out into the world. So the decree is simple. You revoke what you don't want, you reclaim what you do, and you speak the decree in your own voice, and we update the energetic records that are only source aligned. So the decree premise is, I am sovereign, I release what is not mine, I reclaim what is mine in source's name. The decree is done in your own voice, and that's why I put them up on YouTube, and also later they'll be put on podcasts so that you can just listen to it and do it in your own home, in your own time, and it's free. Right? So we can start releasing a lot of interference in our own schedule, in our own time. And we don't have to worry about money, right? Because 3D is all about us not having money. We're constantly taunted like, oh, you could have this luxurious lifestyle, but then we're barely getting by, which then just anchors more fear and more shame. That's basically the deception of 3D. You could be, there's only 300 people that are really financially in charge of 3D, and the rest are, those are the billionaires and trillionaires. And then, it's false, right? It's fake. And then we get like all upset because we don't have this beautiful Instagram life. So the most sacred thing a heart-based human being, so source emanated being, is the right to choose for itself, always in every moment, timeline, and dimension. So consent is very important. And 3D is so convoluted, that is what they have been interfering with, is consent. But if you say clearly, I revoke, in the decree, we're going to list what you revoke, And then we're going to reclaim what you do claim. Okay, so we're always looking at, is this source aligned? Do I want this energy clearing? Do I want this help? Because the most sacred thing a soul carries is the right to choose for itself, always in every time, space, dimension. Consent is the most misused, so it is the most precious. And that's why we have to ask. We have to ask our higher self for help or support or energy clearing. And we always wait for a sovereign yes. The first time I said to somebody, it just flew out of my mouth, you do not have my consent. And instantly, I've never even used those words. And instantly they said, take it back. Right? I know now they're a reptilian. And instantly, as soon as I said it, they're like, take it back. And I said, no, you do not have my consent. And I didn't back down. And that was in like 2021. And that was that. That ended that in a bang. So that's why it's so important in this work. And then you're going to get really crystal clear. When was your consent crossed? When has inferred consent be like when it has it been interfering in your life? And you're going to get really clear. And if you've gone to here, I really suggest that you do the decrees in a row, because each decree builds on each decree builds, but it also helps secure your nervous system and your body. So thanks for being here. So chapter 3 of part 19, the womb healing decree. So 3D interference is basically there to keep you in fear, guilt, shame, trauma loops, karma loops, right? Recursions. Oh, do it again. Get it more perfect. Empath sensitives, light workers, they are so earnest. They want to get it perfect. So then we're constantly kept in loops, and constantly kept around, dangerous people like the dark triad. And because we need to make it better, we need to heal it, we need to try to help. So, and that good-heartedness is used against us. But the installation's greatest fear is not just calling in source and source's team of source aligned, right? So guides only source aligned, but testing the channel, like asking, is this source? If a guide comes forward asking, is this source? Is this source aligned? Is this sovereign? Like questioning the interference in the installation, because we know there's something interfering, there's something going on. And they have us kind of like afraid. Oh, well, don't look inside. This one, she was like a Reiki master, and she was like, oh, like you have a gargoyle. And this is like in 2020. And I just was like, who doesn't? Like that is 3D. 3D is interference. 3D, and if we say gargle or we say entity, people freak out because then they don't want to look. But it's interference. They're installations. And so that's what we're looking for in this decree work. We're looking, where is the installation? Where is the interference? And specifically in the womb healing decree, we are looking at the womb. And we're revoking all inferred consent that definitely is not source. So clear consent is a yes or no, and your body will answer immediately. A person will sit beside you, yes or no. And we all know who we let in when it was a no and how devastating that can be. Okay, so 3D interference, from this understanding, okay, comes all the way from 2000 years ago for the Gnostic teachings of the demiurge. So the demiurge is like the demigod. So it was an unbalanced, um, it created like an unbalanced system, which is the material plane, which is 3D. And so then they needed kind of like administrators, and they were called in the Gnostic teachings, they were called archons, Archons. I just got a thumbs up on my Zoom. It probably won't show on the video, but anyways, we're on the right track. In modern times, they're called the reptilians, and then they're controlled by the Draco reptilians. So the Draco reptilians at some point are source emanated. The way I understand it, they are at one point source emanated, but they further and further and further and further and further became away from source. They're called the 1%ers. They even call themselves the 1%ers, but they have 1% source consciousness. And the heart is 500. So even if you're high 3D, 4D, that's courage. You're asking questions. You're saying, like, this is not for me. Like, I revoke inferred consent, which is huge if we all did that. Great. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. So the 3D monitoring system controls the flow of resources. So all the money, all the banking, all the tech in 3D. It works in repetitive cycles. So relationships, jobs, illnesses, to keep you in the main state of fear and pain. That's the favorite of 3D is fear and pain. But yet they kind of glamorize this like you could be famous. You could be on a yacht. You could be a billionaire. It's like, yeah, and find out what kind of things you have to do to have that in 3D is quite disgusting and horrific, right? So lots is elusive on the 3D plane, but it is also really obvious. But we just have to choose to see it as it is and not how we want to see it. So I used to see people from their highest consciousness. I still do, but I also see their 3D selves now. So I see both. And then now I see all kind of timelines up to 24D. So that's 3D. And the main tools of 3D interference are installations. And so we're going to look into that. We look into that in all of the decrees, but we're going to look into the womb specifically for installations. And then what I've seen with clients is like a metal cage on the womb. And then what is the purpose of that is to cause interference and also to block, say, your divine counterpart. Because say if you had your divine counterpart, so what I'm seeing is a lot of 5D New Earth families where everyone is a light worker. So the mother is a light worker, the father is a light worker, and the children are light workers. That's huge. Normally it would be one light worker in the lineage of both the mother and the father, or whatever the parent and the parent. So that is a big shift, but I have clients that actually have created that and are creating it. And so with this interference, it creates agitation, and then the body will basically be giving messages with the womb. So anything with reproduction, anything with sex, your sexual orientation, like the womb is connected to all of that. And I say it's for both male and female because we are all born through a womb, unless you are not a human source-based being in a human 3D body, because there are some non-3D bodies. Anyways, you wouldn't be interested in this work, so it wouldn't matter. Okay, so the simple answer is that they put these interferences and installations in so that you do not awaken your consciousness and you definitely do not connect with your divine pairing. So the divine pairing is also outside, but it's also inside. And some people meet their divine pair on the outside, but then they're very confused and they don't trust that that's the person it because there's this overlay of confusion. And that is very typical, right? So the interference can go up to 7D, but the heart 5D consciousness is the most difficult to interfere with, and that is New Earth. So New Earth has like a protection around it. It is called, I've been told, the sacred garden. It has a very strict protection around it. And so in order to interfere, then they have to be heart-based, which is not going to happen because then they have to go through all the karma that they've created from 1D to 5D. That could take forever, right? Because so, anyways, yes. So, as source emanated human beings, we emit a heart-based energy and frequency. And they're what I call the dark triad, the psychopath, sociopath, narcissist, or you can call them the Draco reptilians, the Anunnaki from 40, and then the insectoid groups have access up to 7D. They're like the one percenters. So they have very little source light based on their behavior and then repetition, repetition, repetition. 3D is all repetition. So, but New Earth is 500 consciousness and 5D consciousness through the heart, connecting to source. And that's what we were going to focus on. Good. Thank you. So, chapter 4, part 19, the womb healing decree. Why is life so hard? I hear this a lot in sessions. People are confused, they're overwhelmed, they're tired. You're not broken. You are interfered with. The interference has a name, a pattern, and a method of repetition. They are not creative. The formula, there is a formula and it needs to be ejected out of your body. So once you see it clearly, it loses its power over you. So for example, in 3D, the material plane, fear activates confusion. Confusion activates compulsive desire or compulsive action. Desire activates shame or compulsive action. And then shame activates fear. And then fear activates shame. And then you're locked in this recursion, right? On the horizontal. Repeat, 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 I guess. Wash, repeat is what they're saying. So it's a closed loop generating the exact emotional energy that feeds the 3D loosh system. So loosh is Loosh. So they need our energy, but they can't integrate love and unconditional love. And so they need us to be in those lower emotions, the lowest being fear. And so you simply think, okay, well, I'm having a bad day, but really it's been a bad decade. Or how about it's been a couple bad decades or 3 or 4, right? So a spiral can start with one fear thought and then it connects to another, and then say you get married to somebody that your body is literally rejecting, but you convince yourself, oh, well, this is what I need to do. It's time, right? Because with a sovereign being, they're always putting a lot of Draco reptilians and reptilians around that source emanated being so that emanated being, they don't awaken to who they are and they don't activate their consciousness. and connection to source because they're very hard to control. And that's why they altered our DNA. The Anunnaki from 4D altered the human being DNA from 12 to 2. Because even at 6, we were awakening in our consciousness. And so they had to take it way down. But now our DNA is activating to 12, 24, 48, 36, 48. Our DNA, original source DNA, is activating. But we need to remove the interference for the activations to naturally happen, and they naturally do unfold. So, and then once we activate the inner divine feminine and the inner divine masculine, and then you calling in your true counterpart with a clear signal, no interference. So the divine counterpart decree is part 15, and it was published on the 13th of June, 2026. And that has been what is the most interfered with on 3D. But if that activation is blocked, who steps in? The dark triad, right? The psychopath, sociopath, narcissist. And you think, wow, do I have like a sign on my head? No, you do not. That they are constantly tracking, and it becomes very obvious. So from 5D, even at 5D, it becomes very obvious who's heart-based and who is not heart-based. In 3D, it's very confusing. Like I was very confused in 3D. I assumed everybody was a heart-based being, and I wanted to see it that way. But from 5D, you see it as it is. It's not a judgment. It's obvious. It's as obvious as night and day. Good. Have something to drink. Okay. So just checking in, connecting to the heart, connecting to the higher self. So chapter 5, part 19, the womb healing decree. So what is seer work? So I call myself a seer, but what am I talking about? So as a seer, we're looking for installations, overlays, interference. Yes, sometimes it can look like a monster, an entity, but who cares, right? They just use that to like frighten people so that people don't look inside. But we're looking for the installations, the overlays, the interference. So the monster and the entity is the distraction, right? So that you don't look and there's this, oh, fear. So the installation is the mechanisms of interference. And this is the paradigm shift is seeing it as an installation, not as an entity. So seer work is directly connected to source, no intermediaries, and it's through the heart. So guidance arises in conscious presence with your higher self, only source aligned with the highest consciousness of unconditional love. And unconditional love is the highest because it is a love without conditions. And they made, the heart romantic. And it is beyond way more than romantic. And it's not about getting together with somebody else. It is a divine calling. So seer work is regulated in clarity. It's more stable. It's like an orientation and an integration because the body needs to agree. The body needs to say yes. So everything in seer work is verified by the body. The body is the compass and the body is the golden key. So you'll perceive, you're going to adjust, you're going to feel things integrate into the body, and you're also going to feel it when things move out of the body. And then you're like, well, I don't feel anything with my body. It's like, yeah, if I pinch you hard enough, you'll feel it. That's the mind. I can't feel, I can't see, I don't know. Those are all your senses that are source emanated gifts that are natural. And then based on what is happening in 3D, those get shut down at different ages based on survival, right? So the confirmation always comes from the body. And then as with seer work, we're seeing the current situation, but we're also sensing and seeing what is the cleanest path forward. Like your higher self is bringing the guidance in for the clearest, fastest path forward. And then checks on the body, checks on the nervous system. And then seer work is precise because it is embodied. Good. Okay. Take a little break, have some water, have something to drink or a snack. Okay, welcome. So we're on chapter 6, part 19, the womb healing. How is the decree done? Okay, so the decree, there's a simple process. So we're going to write it by hand. So you're going to need a pen and one piece of paper. I just use printer paper. So it's blank, no lines in preference, because lines reinforce the horizontal. Do you see? Anyways, we want to be emphasizing the vertical. So, but blank is the preference and white with no lines. So we're not going to type it. We're not going to type it on the computer. It's written by your own hand. It'll feel a bit slow, but you're also going to feel and get messages of what your body is holding. And you're going to speak it out loud 3 times because your voice has resonance and power. And then we're going to burn the decree in a pot, in a kitchen pot. It doesn't have to be very big because it's one piece of paper, right? And we're going to fold it 3 times, sealing our sovereignty. We're going to fold it, that's 2 and 3. So we're going to fold it 3 times. And then you can hold it with, I've had people hold it with scissors, that works. Oops. And then you can also hold it with kitchen tongs if you have them. Okay, and then you're just going to light the piece of paper and then just hold it up here on the stove and let it burn. I always put like the exhaust on or open a window because it can get very smoky even though it's just one tiny piece of paper. It's amazing how big the flames can get. Also the color, like I've seen them being really red, the flames. I've seen them be really orange. I've also seen parts of the decrees not burning. I mean, you're folding it 3 times. It's one piece of paper, and then there's parts of it that don't burn. So we're going to check in the ashes and make sure that it all goes to ash. It should all be mostly, goes to dust. And then we're going to put some sea salt on it and then flush it down the toilet. Okay, good. I'll just move that aside. Whew. And then I've seen the ashes stay in the toilet. I've seen them go on the rim of the toilet. So I just open the toilet seat, like both parts, if it's a regular toilet. And then just rinse the pot again and then put the water from the ashes into the toilet. I usually do it 3 times. And then you can wash your pot and use it like regular. It doesn't change your pot because we're salting it and we're sealing it and then we're flushing it down the toilet. But the most important thing is to see, what are the shifts in your body? Like how is your body experiencing this one tiny piece of paper, right? And then always, you're witnessing your own awareness and your own authority. And, if you just kind of just write it down on a journal or a piece of paper, like the process and how you were feeling, what happened to the ashes, just as a curiosity or not, and just, release it and let it go. Okay. chapter 8, part 19, womb healing decree. So let's now just take a moment. This will probably take like 3 to 5 minutes, and we're just going to tune into our hearts and source. So we'll do it together. And then you could listen to this a couple of times. So you can just listen to it the first time and then to just kind of get used to, what the guidance is, and then do it again or do it a few times. So let's get comfortable. So connecting to the heart, going in with the intention to connect directly to source through the heart. We just have to set the intention. And the mind will say, oh, well, I don't feel anything in my inner body. But that's the critical voice. That's the ego. That's the conscious mind. So we're just going to ignore that and put it aside for this work. Okay. So let's get comfortable. So I call on and consent for an extra code of shielding through the heart. It is a plasma crystal living light field of protection, an energetic protection. We're doing this with source and with our higher selves. And the intention is for you to see more clearly, to use your discernment, to have laser focus, to have clear navigation, and to overall get through life more efficiently. So we're going to trust in heart-based stillness. You don't need to do anything. Just allow yourself to be. Good. I ask for the veil between me and my higher self and only source aligned. And then source to dissolve through the heart. Good. So I may feel, know, and experience guidance in its purest form. I am ready to integrate all dimensions of my being and to allow the fullness of my gifts to flow through me. Take a deep breath, let it out. How can I receive more love today? It's a good one. How can I feel my womb today? How can I heal my body today? I speak my truth with confidence and ease. I am open to expressing my higher self in every moment of only source aligned. Good. I trust the wisdom of my higher self and the guidance that flows through me from source. I remember I am safe. I am loved. Good. That's it. I'll see you in chapter 9. Take another bit of water. All right, welcome. Chapter 9. So we're going to begin the writing and the action. So I would start writing at the very, very top, like the very, very top of the piece of paper, and try not to write that big, but don't stress yourself out. If you do have to use a second piece of paper, that's okay. But we're going to try to, not write a book. We don't want to overwhelm our nervous system. and get kind of too exhausted. So chapter 9 is the womb healing decree. So we're going to start writing now. So make sure that you have a quiet, uninterrupted space, 2 pieces of blank white paper. You'll only need one, hopefully, a couple pens, a fire source like matches, or I'll have a lighter. I have had brand new lighters, 2 of them, not work. And then one guy, when we were doing the decree, one man, he had like a really powerful lighter. And I was like, wow, I have to get one of those. You can also use a candle as well. Actually, I'm gonna light the candle. I have a candle here. I'm gonna light it. That'd be nice. Okay. Um, let's see. Deep breath in and out. So we're going to go to the kitchen to burn it in a pot. Be adults, have water nearby, be safe. It can smoke a lot. This one tiny piece of paper, it can smoke a lot. Have sea salt for the ashes, and then a toilet to flush the ashes down. Don't keep the ashes. They are not a keepsake. And then a journal or a piece of paper to write down your process if you choose. But we're not keeping this decree. Once it's written, we're getting rid of it. This is not something you want to keep. So this is an energetic severance. So all contracts, cords, vows, agreements dissolve, not just release with love and light. That's bypassing, complete severance. So what you're declaring is that loyalty is sacred, but not to those who violate it. No siphoning, no spiritual bypassing, no love and light. Interference is serious, and we are naming it out loud, and we are revoking it. So no forgiveness, not the toxic kind that re-engages with their frequency. Like I forgive everyone, but I don't re-engage with certain people, and I probably never will because I don't need to. You might need them for 3D, but you're not going to need them in 5D, especially when they cause harm. And then 0 leaks of energy. So no access to your energy, not because you're blood related, not because of shared incarnations, not because they're an ex, not because of any reason, right? So if there's siphoning happening and there's crossing of consent, this is naming it and then saying, no. Okay. Let me just adjust here. Okay, good. All right. And then just affirm, like, I want to be free. I am free. I want it. I want the easy way. I want my natural state of being. I want this to be easy. Release the struggle, release the do-overs, release the repetition, release the karmic loops. And, why would you want to do a decree? Because energetic cords are draining. Control cords are the worst. They manipulate your thoughts, your emotions, your body. Karma cords are loops and do-overs in a repetition cycle. Okay? So let's get started. Right eye, and then your full name and your birth date, place of birth, time of birth, if you know it. I don't know mine exactly, so I do like an approximate. So your full name, birth date, place of birth, time of birth, city, town, state, province, country. In full sovereignty. Actually, I put in full source sovereignty. Sovereignty is SOVEREIGNTY. You don't have to worry about spelling, but I know some people, English is not their primary language that are doing this. So I just want you to understand the word that's being used. And source is SOURCE. And with the witnessed authority, of only source aligned. And I'm going to call them the team, right? They're your guides or your helpers that have come forward. But really, you just need your higher self, only source aligned, and source. And then everybody else is a bonus. And then you can write them down. But we're saying they're only source aligned. Like sometimes we have to look at ancestors to see, are they source aligned? Or different guides that have stepped forward, they can be there if they're only source aligned, which means your highest and greatest good. Okay, so let's recap. So I, full name, birth date, place of birth, time of birth, city, town, state, province, country, in full source sovereignty and with the witnessed authority of only source aligned, and then higher self and source, and then if there's anybody else that has stepped forward, and you'll know. I hereby declare, issue, and ask for only source justice and source mercy for a womb healing decree. So I hereby declare, issue, and ask for only source justice and source mercy for a womb healing decree, or for the womb healing decree. Actually, that sounds better. Oops. Have a bit of water always. And take a little break if you need it, but we can continue on writing. Okay, so there's going to be a big list coming up. And so you're going to write, I revoke, REVOKE. And then I put a colon or an equals. And then you're going to make a list. So womb interference, known or unknown, in all time, space, dimensions. So anything that has to do with the womb. So we're calling it womb interference, known and unknown, in all time, space, dimensions. So that should cover kind of everything, right? Because we're source aligned. So if it's originally from source, it can stay. If it is not, then it must go. So again, I revoke, REVOKE, and then womb interference, known and unknown, in all time, space, dimensions. And then I'm just going to list some words, and then you decide if they resonate for you. And you can also add words. So contracts, cords, CORDS, vows, VOWS, karmic agreements, soul ties, energetic connections, energetic rape, sexual interference, energetic siphoning, off-planet siphoning, manipulations, emotional manipulations, trauma bonds, thievery, access, interference, false contracts, and the most important, installations, overlays, physical contact, energetic contact, siphoning, covert control. So covert, covert, covert control. And then more words, unworthiness, fear mongering, voice, voice, body, expression, power, imposters, and negative entities, injustice, manipulation, attempt of possession of the womb by putting overlays, siphoning energy, family, relationships, false white light, love bypassing, guides, psychics, power dynamics, instilling fear, traps, mental traps, womb installations, reversals, mutations, clones, clones, black hole systems, Stockholm syndrome, trauma bond, intrusion, manipulation, irritation, destabilization, and triggers. Take a deep breath. And if there's anything else that you can think of to add to the list of what you revoke. And then continuing on, I revoke all permission, inferred permission, INFERRED, in all time, space, dimensions, to use my womb, WOMB in big letters, access my energy, draw from my field, remain in any of my timelines, hold any claim on my womb and body, energy, money, identity, resources, property, shame, inheritance, loosh, LOOSH, feeding systems, convoluted DNA, chaos, destruction, code convolutions. So we have our original light codes from source that are malfunctioning or mutating. That is interference. And then you can write anything else that you want to add. So it's the same as the other big list. So they have zero claim on me. Good. Okay, so continuing on, writing the decree. I declare injustice that is relevant to me. So it's important that it is relevant to you, because that is what is meant to be a wayshower, is that it actually has happened to you and is personal to you, but that personal experience then expands and extends out to all. But that is the power of being a wayshower. And then so you can declare and write down the injustices that you have experienced with your womb. And then I tried to keep it, you know, short, just kind of name the type of the injustice, and we will be naming the people, systems, interference next. And then I do not consent to womb. I do not consent to womb thefts, possessions, relationships, attempted soul possessions, humiliation, gossip, lies in my name in all time, space, dimensions. Good. I eject womb thefts, body thefts, and lies in my name. I do not give consent, and inferred consent is not consent. And then I put this in capital letters. I do not give consent to these kinds of experiences, installations, and interference. I declare injustice, and I demand the balance of this and reciprocity for this injustice. I revoke all and send all to source. One friend, Michael, and he always says, if you don't say send all to source, like I would be surprised. So now we're going to, it's a heavy topic. It's very painful. It's very deep. I can feel the heart pain that this has created. This is a major interference in 3D. So now we're going to name the people, the systems, and the interference. And so write I sever and then name all until you feel complete. And sometimes people know past lives, which are other timelines. So if there's any that you want to add in here, you can add them in here as well. So family, friends, relatives, people of influence with your womb, that can be doctors, gynecologists, lots of interference, people in power, religious groups. So we're looking for womb violations. And then if it feels right, you can claim the archons. Archons, the archons. You can also name the dark triad, the psychopath, sociopath, narcissist, and then you don't have to get into the details of who's who and who's what. Basically, they're not heart-based. The Draco reptilians, DRACO, reptilians, REPTILIANS. The reptilians are kind of bossed around by the Draco reptilians. The Anunnaki, ANNUNAKI, 4D interference, but it can go all the way up to 7. Get comfortable, just had to adjust. And notice how your body is feeling. So right away I had to do some heart healing. And then the insectoids, INSETOIDS. One of them is called the prey mantis. I spell it PREY, and then mantis, MANTIS. They come from higher dimensions, but they can access up to 7D and put interference. So they really like the crown. They really like the third eye. They like doing interference. I found the name of the 3D demiurge god that kind of was created that doesn't really know that there's a source beyond itself. So it thinks it is the only God. And I found out, and I don't call it, but I found out the Gnostic teachings is called Yaldabaoth, Yaldabough. And then you can also name the fallen light, the fallen angels, the demiurge rulers, known and unknown. Demiurge is Demiurge. They think of themselves as rulers, but they're really like the controllers. You can write the controllers. They also think of themselves as the architects. And then write I reclaim, and I write it in capital letters. I reclaim my womb, WOMB, in all time, space, dimensions. 12-strand DNA, 12, like the number 12, strand, STRAND, DNA, and my source aligned angelic, ANGELIC, light codes. Good. My full heart. So this is all under reclaim. So I put a colon or an equals, and we're going to make a list. So my womb in all time, space, dimensions, 12-strand DNA, source aligned angelic light codes. So just doing some healing for the heart. My full heart, all energy given, all time given, all innocence taken, all loyalty extended, all hope invested. My compassion. So this is still under the list of I reclaim. My compassion, dignity, energy, grace, and just notice how your body is feeling. Any releases are common, kind of hiccups, burps, sneezing, any pressure in the joints. So my compassion, dignity, energy, grace, kindness, safety, security, peace, power, trust, and vulnerability, free will. And then my source, SOURCE, appointed inner and outer divine guidance. I reclaim my complete and total womb, WOMB, freedom, adventure, healing in all time, space, dimensions as my God-given right in the name of Source. Notice how your back's feeling, how your body's feeling. Source marrying source. I was patient. I gave too many chances. I am complete. With my higher self, only source aligned, and source, I am requesting my highest timeline or path. I then raise my vibration to my highest timeline, only source aligned. Aligned is ALIGNED. And then if there's more than what I've listed that you want to reclaim, then add that as well. Okay, so continuing on in the writing, we're almost there. So all cords are severed. So all cords and then colon or an equal sign. All cords are severed. So we're doing a list. Severed, dissolved, and nullified. N-U-L-I, nullified, F-I-E-D, nullified. Spelling doesn't matter, but obviously it's nice to have spelling. Who cares? All timelines, past, present, future. All dimensions, 3, 4, 5 to 9, D and beyond. And then all incarnations, earth and elsewhere. Good. And then a new list updated in the records as named, if only source aligned. So updated in the Akashic records. So that's your soul's complete history across timelines. You don't have to write that. But updated in the Akashic records, but knowing in the background that only if it's with your higher self and only source aligned. Okay. But you can just write updated in the Akashic records. You don't have to write all of that. And then the book of life, L-I-F-E. And then the explanation for the book of life is the divine records of all souls and their contracts. So again, we got a thumbs up on Zoom, but it may not show up on the video when it's filmed. And then the book of tapestry, T-A-P-E-S-T-R-Y. And it's updated and protected by Anubis and Anput with the Egyptian tradition expression timeline of only source aligned. But you just need to write the book of tapestry. That's the one where Priestess Matt is weighing the heart and the feather on the scale. So kind of nothing gets past that test. So Anubis and Amput enact Mat, which is the law. And Anubis and Amput are the judges, basically. And it's the heart. Your heart is on one part of the scale and a feather is on the other side of the scale. But you don't have to write all of that. That's just some background information. And then write down the cosmic records, C-O-S-M-I-C. And the cosmic records are the records. So this is just a description. You don't have to write this down. The records recorded by Thoth, T-H-O-T-H, in the Egyptian expression timeline. And again, we're asking only source aligned. Okay, so if Thoth is not source aligned, meaning he is not the frequency of source, then it will be nullified. Okay, good. So you just have to write the cosmic records and then there's the description. Okay, so we're starting another section, but keep writing as tight as you can on your one piece of paper. This severance is final and irreversible, only source aligned. And then colon or an equals. This severance is permanent and final in source's name. I reclaim this body is source moving through the sovereign instrument of the embodied being on earth in a 3D body. I am complete. I am free. I am sovereign and only source aligned. Okay, and then a new section, but just writing tight on the one piece of paper. We're almost finished. Good job. Notice how your body is doing. I thank my higher self and my guides of only source aligned and source for witnessing, protecting this womb healing decree. Thank you for your devotion, healing, help, love, and see how that feels in your body. So thank you for your devotion, healing, help, love, support, patience, protection, and delivering this decree. I claim this womb healing decree in Source's name. So it is declared, so it is done. It is irreversible with only unconditional love. In the name of grace, under the law of one, it is sealed in Source's name. And then this is a really important line that I actually find people get bribes when to not write this. And they also, which tells me how important it is, because they always love to tell on themselves, because they always love to brag. So I am not of their realm, meaning I'm not part of the 3D material plane. You come from source, you're a source emanated being. So I am not of their realm. And this realm has no claim on what I am. Good. And so be it. It is done, claimed, sovereign, no vacancy. And then signed in sovereignty, SOVEREIGNTY. And then your full name, your signature, and today's full date. And a sigil, which is like a drawing of basically your essence. I have a sigil myself. There it is. It's like a heart with a balance. So emotional sovereignty, emotional balance. Two hearts coming together, but there's space in between, right? Two sovereign beings coming together. Basically here to kind of live that emotional sovereignty, sacred connection, and the balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Okay, and now you're going to read it out loud 3 times. I know it's going to feel like a lot, but notice how your body feels and really claim it and speak it in a loud, firm voice. You are not asking permission. You are stating this as fact, and everything needs to move along being sent to source. Okay, so notice your breathing. How are you feeling? How's your body feeling? Do you feel tired? Any body sensations? But keep moving forward. You can repeat, put this on repeat. Keep moving forward. Okay, and yes, it needs to be read 3 times because your body needs the relief and the release, and also your energy bodies. So your energy, emotional, mental, etheric, all your different bodies, your auric field. And then you're going to fold it 3 times. Okay, so the first fold, so you have your one piece of paper, the first fold seals your identity, the second fold seals your sovereignty, and the third fold seals your frequency. Salt the ashes, make sure that they've all burned, even if they're teeny tiny, try to burn them. And then notice what words didn't burn. Like the word that didn't burn for me was consent. Out of all that writing, right? And you burn it, and was like its own little island. And the word was consent. So I made sure that burnt to ash. I'm like very careful with these ashes and flushing them down the toilet. And I fill the pot up, 3 times. After the ashes, I put the ashes in, I flush the toilet, I put water in, and then I flush it. And then I rinse whatever tongs, because tongs will also have ashes, or if you're using scissors, the scissors will have some ashes on them. So I'm very thorough. Like you want these to be flushed down the toilet and, be the boss. Okay, good. Do it safely. We're all adults. It may smoke quite a lot. You might be quite shocked. If it's flaming up quite a bit, just drop it in the pot and it should burn on its own. And if not, just relight any pieces of paper that don't burn. Always use your own intuition, use your gut instinct, and, really be the boss. of this decree and really claim it for yourself. Claim your freedom. There's so much interference with the womb, and the womb literally is creation, right? So it's blocking your creation on all levels. Good job. Whew, take a deep breath. Good job. I can feel it. Feel in the body, feel it in the knees, just feel how, just one piece of paper and all these words, but the body is responding because it's all being removed, things that you've been carrying your whole life. Good. Have some water. Make sure you wash your hands. Great. Okay, so chapter 10, self-care and practical support for the womb healing decree. Take really good care of yourself. Okay, tears may come, emotions, dreams may come in the next few days, and just write them down as you feel, but don't make it homework. Just, whatever, just really think about whatever is for your highest and greatest good. Epsom salts, I have found, work wonders. If you can't have a bath or don't like baths, even soaking your feet, because our feet they have grounding points, and all the organs are represented in Chinese medicine on the hands, the ears, the feet. So soaking them in salt water. You can go in the ocean, go in a river, go in a spring. We're wanting to release the density through the root. So the feet are the root, and stabilize our crystalline structure, the crystalline grid of new earth, and then give your bodies the minerals and the energetic support that it's asking for. Be in nature, be gentle, ease and grace, I say, with this work, rest as you need it. And then before you go to bed, you can call in your higher self, only source aligned, and state your intention for your sleep. I want to sleep really peacefully. I want to feel very secure and have no interference in my sleep. Those are examples of intentions, right? You're letting your higher self and source know, this is my intention. And I only allow those with a benevolent nature and only source aligned to be around me while I sleep. I declare this space as mine in Source's name. Like we really can be the boss, the energetic boss. Okay, good job. Okay, so let's end here. Let's seal all of this in Source's name with the golden light of Source. Thank you for doing the womb healing decree. Use your discernment always. Keep what resonates, leave the rest. You're the boss of this space. Okay, so the premise is I release what is not mine. I reclaim what is mine. Subscribe to updates, get notifications, all the rest. Please join YouTube Lives and come and ask questions. Let me know how your decree went. What was it like, writing the decree? What was it like burning the decree? What happened after? Anything, just any feedback, see you in the next one. Take care with gratitude from my heart to yours. Thank you for being here.